So we thought it was potential, but now it's confirmed. We have Casey Stoney is the new women's national team coach. What does it mean? Let's talk about it. All right, guys, welcome back to What Does It Mean? We normally use this for our match reactions, talking about things we learned, but sometimes there are events that you feel you need to talk about it. And in this case, it is the reality that Canada's women's national team have a new coach in Casey Stoney. So guys, if you're new to the channel, we do primarily Canadian African content, because we won't be the Africans, we didn't do both. So make sure you leave us a like, comment, and subscribe. Also, we have a new clips channel that we've launched this year in 2025. So we're gonna be double posting a little bit for the year, but now in any of our long format, you might see bite sizes there, so you guys can kind of gather it there. Topical, try to keep this more for long form content here and then our short form content a little bit on other platforms. But so who is Casey Stoney? Shout out to One Soccer for this lovely graphic that they put out. Played player manager in 2009 with Chelsea, but a manager at Man United from 2018 to 2021, and then San Diego away from 2021 to 2024. Within that time frame, she has a FA Women's Championship in 2018-19 with Man United, NWSL Shield in 2023, Challenge Cup winner, that's in season tournament for the NWSL. She's a two-time WSL Coach of the Month and an NWSL Coach of the Year in 2022. The new women's national team coach. Thoughts? I think if I speak to many of my WOSO Canadian fans, they are in for it. They love this acquisition. They love this appointment. It is official as of Monday the 13th. And what are the things that they've loved about it? Well, let's start with the basis. A good X's and O's coach. If you haven't had a chance to, you should go to Coach's Voice. She's a couple breakdowns on that when she was coaching in the Premier League or the WSL. And I think that gives you a bit of an insight to her acumen in terms of how she positions, how some of her philosophies, but also she's very introspective in terms of some of her decisions. And anyone can be introspective when you have a camera in your face, but I like some of her lessons that she got, especially her breakdown coming off of playing, I think, Man City, where I was learning maybe having a strategy, but then not having the players to do it. You have to be aware to put some of those players in positions to succeed. Again, terrible paraphrase, but still. Can this have a Marsh effect? Now, I don't want to always use the men's team in Canada, but we saw what the men's team was able to do. They were able to get a coach who was able to reinvigorate the men's program, though they were not on the slide, but they were able to give them a little bit extra juice to push them to higher ranks where they are. Can Casey Stoney have that type of an effect on the women's national team? The women's national team have been one of the top teams in the world over the past few years. They have that Olympics championship, the Olympics gold, back in 2021 for the 2020 Olympics. They had a very spirited run at the last Olympics, albeit, around amidst all the drone scandals. And you can definitely see great cornerstone players, but also a little bit of potential. We'll get to the potential a bit later. But can Stoney have the same type of effect on the women's national team? What type of coach is she? Well, looking through forums, looking at different conversations with it, she's definitely a very well-structured coach. Coach advocates for her players always. She came from San Diego, which for some NWSL, some WOSO fans, you might say, oh, she survived San Diego. Others may say she did a good job in San Diego. She won the Supporters Shield. She won the Challenge Cup. So she has had success playing. Going through some of the forums, I think the interesting thing to me is a defensive, solid, tactical coach maybe might lack in terms of offensive identity, maybe offensive creativity. Now, the year that she's let go, she is suffering a lot of injuries in that squad, right? Alex Morgan is hurt, Jane Shaw is out of the lineup. Maybe that affects how you're going to build. And if you look at this Canadian side, I think those two positions, that 10 and 11, or that 10 and that 9, those strikers positions are interesting to see who she deploys, what she could do there. And I think that comes to the big question for me. Stoney has been primarily a back four player. She's a center back, so you can see the attention to detail on a defensive standpoint. But if you look at most of her lineups with the San Diego Wave, she's played primarily a back four. And Canada has the depth to play a back four, but I think most of us would argue that their depth heavily leans better into a stronger position of a back three, right? Now, maybe you start to try to be multiple. You try to play a Jade Rose out wide in one of your fullback positions, but then does that mean you move a Jade Riviere further up the pitch? Or do you just go to a back three and try to function almost in a back five defensively? So you play more of a 5-3-2 or a 5-2-3, depending on how you want to look at it. I think that's the first interesting question. Second is, what does she do up front? Right, and I'm looking a lot of how she deployed Jada Shaw. If you look at her lineups in the NWSL, you have effectively 4-3-3s, you have 4-4-2s, you have 4-2-3-1s. Now, again, these are all lineups pulled from Google, so if they are wrong, guys, feel free to jump in the comments and talk about that. But defensively, always having a 9 holding up and then someone underneath that can counterplay and play well. I think this will be interesting. I think for me, if I'm going to point out 2 players this could be interesting for, I do wonder what happens with a Olivia Smith, who probably could easily fit into that second striker position in a 4-4-2 or a 4-2-3-1 in that 10 space. I wonder what she does with a Jade Rose. I think Jade Rose is your second best. But it's not just the young players coming up. Thinking of like the Victoria Picketts of the world, right? Does this maybe open a door for a player like a Bianca St. George's? A player or players who could have a role in moving back. What does this mean defensively? You have a coach that's very much defensive minded. You think of a player like a Julia Grosso, who probably is best suited in that 8 to a 10 role, but has had to play more into a double pivot sitting back. What does that mean for her? Does this mean maybe you open more opportunities and pathways for a player like an Emma Reagan, who's been starting to break through for the Canadian women's national team? Does this free up a player like Jessie Fleming to be more into a double pivot or further into that 8 space? Or does she still have to sit back in the 6 as a captain? So many questions. Arguably, that's actually an interesting conversation. Who are your top 2 center backs for the Canadian women's national team? Vanessa Gilles is definitely on the list. Kadisha is still out with injury, so Jade Rose will have more time to shine. I wonder what that means for her. But overall, excited. Also, we have guaranteed games that we know. They are in the Pinatar Cup. That's going to be happening in February. Last iterations of teams that have been there, you've had Northern Ireland, Iceland, Ukraine, Scotland, Belgium, Russia back in 2022, Republic of Ireland, Wales has been there 2 of the last 3 years, which means we might see Ryan Wilkerson. This could be fun. Let's bring all the Canadians in. Let's do it. Let's bring all the Canadians in as well. We'll see what happens, but I am very much curious to see what could happen with this. But Casey Stoney is your coach. What does it mean? Let us know in the comments below. And as always, I'm going to stop talking right here.